Hi, one Best BR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are taking a look at the baseball card for Thursday, August 13th. We are talking, of course, with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, a guy who's been doing this successfully for almost 30 years and successfully in 2015. Is that correct, Joe?
Extremely successfully. And, I admitted that right after the All-Star break, we were streaky, but fortunately a lot more winning streaks. But lately, all we've been doing is winning. So it's been one of our best years ever, and that's no small statement because I've had some of the best years in betting history.
All right, Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Well, the first thing I want to ask you about, Butler against Noah Syndergaard in Colorado Mets. Syndergaard's coming off of a subpar start, but I'm guessing he's going to bounce back here, and Eddie Butler, always vulnerable, even on the road. It's going to be a massive favorite line for the Mets. I'm guessing, minus, 240. It's going to be one of those kinds of lines. Hard to justify a play on anything but the Mets here, though, right, Joe?
You are correct. I know I say it on so many of our videos how young pitchers tend to have the most pronounced splits in baseball, where they always tend to be much better at home than they are on the road. And that's the same way in college basketball with young teams. We'll talk about that in a couple months. Well, Syndergaard might be the poster child for that. 6-1 at home with a 1.57 ERA, 0-5 on the road, 5.01 ERA. He's pitching home here. Clearly a huge pitching advantage for the Mets.
And then Steven Strasburg came back off the DL, and when he gets a break, I usually do expect him to come back and be dominant, at least for a little bit, until he starts to wear down, and he had an awesome first start back. Here he's going to be on the road against San Francisco, probably a relatively easy spot again. When will his dominance end? I don't know, but I'm thinking maybe we see a second straight awesome start from Strasburg. He only threw 91 pitches in his last game. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I'm not looking for him to wear down. I know a couple of years ago when they shut him down, that may have been a mistake, overreacting near the Tommy John surgery. He's a heck of a pitcher. I mean, yeah, you got to be a little cautious with him if he shows any signs of arm soreness or whatnot. But he is a star pitcher, and I think he is pretty close to 100%. Tough to come up with any reason to go against him.
Okay, and then the Angels, they're going on the road at KC, and I told you in our Wednesday call that I was kind of leaning towards them going against John Danks, and here it appears they have a pitching advantage, right? Garrett Richards against Jeremy Guthrie, although Jeremy Guthrie, always tends to be a little bit less bad than he looks like he's going to be on paper, and Garrett Richards, hasn't been doing that great recently, 3 or 4 runs every start, so maybe there's not a huge pitching advantage here for the Angels, and KC, of course, has been one of the most profitable teams in baseball. What's your take on this matchup, Angels at KC?
Well, yeah, I know you've been a big fan of Garrett Richards, and his numbers definitely support the fact that you've been a fan of him, but he is on the road in KC, just one of those teams. They just continue to win, just like they did last year, so it's not the best spot for him.
Yeah.
He's a heck of a pitcher, but I don't know. If anything, at first glance, I would lean towards Kansas City in this spot.
Fair enough. And then Cole Hamels, we have to talk about him, right, Joe Duffy? 2 unimpressive starts for Texas since coming over. Here he's going to be at Minnesota. Irvin Santana on the other side, who has been a little bit who's usually up and down in his career, but has gotten crushed recently. Is Hamels going to finally have a good start here for Texas? What do you think, Joe?
No. Keep in mind, before that no-hitter, he had 2 rough starts in Philadelphia, and people were wondering, what's the matter? And basically, he had to come up with that great outing for, or I think his trade value could have dropped. At this point, I have Hamels as a good go against because, he's Cole Hamels, so you're going to get good value. I have Hamels marked up as a definite go against.
All right, well, it's an interesting card on Thursday, an abbreviated card. I'm thinking I'm favoring the Mets. I don't know how I'll bet it, though, because, again, there is going to be a huge favorite line to deal with. Thinking Strasburg has another dominant start, and that's about it for now. Maybe leaning over in that Texas-Minnesota game. What's your take on anything else from Thursday, August 13th, Joe?
The only other notes I have, Trevor Bauer for Cleveland. He's been getting drilled, 5.27 ERA in his last 9 starts, although one might argue that you'd expect it to be a little bit higher because he's given up 14 home runs in that span. He's been giving up the long ball. So I have him marked up as, either one of those guys you go against or look towards a possible over.
All right, Joe Duffy's website, OffshoreInsiders.com. Talk to you again very soon, Joe.